All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here and welcome to our end of year press conference. Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, members of cabinet, members of the media, and of course, those of you tuned in via various media. As usual, Prime Minister Skerrit will begin with introductory remarks, following which we will take questions from the members of the press who are here. Please welcome the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister of Dominica.
Thank you very much. Let me, first of all, um, extend sympathy to the family and friends, and of course to His Lordship the Bishop and members of the Catholic clergy and the entire community of St. Alphonsus, and of course Sophia Scott said, and indeed the entire nation on the passing of Father Charles Martin. Father Martin was an exceptional Dominican who dedicated his entire life of service to shepherding God's people on earth. May his soul and the soul of the faithful departed, for the mercy of God, rest in peace. I also want to greet my colleagues who are here, and of course the members of the press. And thank you for being there, Secretary Cabinet, the Press Secretary, the Permanent Secretary, and others. Good afternoon, everyone. And of course, I apologize for kept shifting the time on the press conference. Actually, was traveling and my flight was delayed by 5 hours. So it's been a 16-hour flight, literally coming almost straight to the press conference this afternoon. Warm greetings from all of us in the cabinet and the government of Dominica, wishing you a joyful holiday season and a happy new year. Thank you for joining my colleagues and I for this final press conference of the year. This is an opportunity to reflect on the key achievements of 2024 and, more importantly, to look forward to the opportunities that await our people and country in the new year. 2024 has been a year of progress and a year in which we did the groundwork for a brighter and more prosperous future for Dominica. Of course, notwithstanding its own challenges. We reached a historic milestone with the groundbreaking National Airport. This transformative project is a cornerstone of our economic agenda and a symbol of hope and opportunity for every Dominican. With construction now underway, the airport promises to create hundreds of jobs, enhance connectivity, and position Dominica as a premier destination for tourism and trade. And of course, I've been told that we are about 6.1% ahead of schedule on the construction of the international airport. So that's good news. So we continue to prioritize climate resilient infrastructure with work continuing on Lot 2 of the East Coast Road through the Calnago territory and actual construction about to begin on the Louvier to Grand Bay and the Roseau Enhancement Project. These infrastructure initiatives around the island are clear signals of our national progress, which will directly impact the well-being, improve access, enhance safety and security, and foster economic opportunities for all. Dominica continues to lead the region in sustainable development initiatives, with significant progress made in our drive towards geothermal energy production. The geothermal plant is on course for completion by 2026, and earlier this year, we signed a contract for work to commence on the electricity transmission network from Loda to Fokole. Once operational, this project will not only provide clean energy for people, but also set an example for renewable energy adoption across the Caribbean. From expanded access to healthcare, increasing investments in agriculture, and improving school infrastructure, we have made tangible progress in enhancing the quality of life of Dominicans. This year, construction began on 6 schools funded by the People's Republic of China. And when you drive around, you can see the work in progress from the Goodwill, especially the Goodwill Secondary School, which we all are yearning for and excited for the students of the Goodwill Secondary School, who have been really patient over the years, and I'm really looking forward towards the completion of that brand new school. And I want to commend the efforts of the Power Rep, Honorable William Blanchard, on this. And of course, these schools are being funded by the People's Republic of China, who continue to be steadfast in their support for Dominica. Work is nearing completion on the Dominica Grammar School with funding from the Citizenship by Investment Program. And we'll certainly look forward to the completion of the school. Obviously, the construction going on and school classes taking place, they both couldn't coexist. And there's some temporary arrangements made for the students to continue their education. In 2024, we continued construction of modern hurricane-resilient homes, reaffirming our commitment to providing every Dominican with safe and secure shelter. Next week, over 50 deserving families will celebrate the joy of home ownership and begin a new year with a fresh start as they receive the keys to their new homes. And of course, all of those homes are being given to the beneficiaries at no cost to them. And so we're grateful for this. And we can do the maths, an average cost of $250, $350 for a home. You can do the maths of what it's costing about. As we look forward to 2025 and beyond, our vision remains clear: building a Dominica that is resilient, inclusive, and prosperous. We will prioritize job creation through small business development, increased investment in tourism, and by leveraging the economic benefits of the international airport. Our aim is to ensure that every Dominican has access to meaningful employment opportunities. Our people can look forward to actual work on the ground on the major projects we launched this year, including the Cabris Marina, the Lubia to Grand Bay Road, and the Road Enhancement Project. I invite the members of the media to track the progress of these big-ticket projects over the next few months so that our people are kept informed. We will also usher the new year with a direct flight from Newark, New Jersey, by United Airlines. And all things considered, and with God's grace, we hope to have a direct flight from JFK, hopefully in 2025. So we look forward to that as well. And one can only appreciate that these direct flights are into Douglas Charles. One can only understand and imagine what this means for the international airport in terms of the opportunities. As previously indicated, we are in the preliminary stages for planning of the construction of a cruise village and cargo port, both intended to transform the way we do business in Dominica and open up new opportunities and numerous opportunities in tourism and small business development. In respect to the cruise village, this will be a foreign direct investment funded project. So the private developer will come in to build, finance, and operate for a period of time so that we will not have to borrow or use our own resources to build this port, and use the resources now to direct it to the cargo port, which is so crucial for economic well-being in Dominica. Much more has happened this year. The time is not on my side to articulate all of what we achieved this year. And I could spend the entire afternoon and night and going into the morning about our accomplishments. But I want to move on to some other matters and give you the opportunity to ask your questions. As you know, the Parliament will convene on Monday to consider a number of important matters. We will present 3 electoral reform bills for the first reading only, namely the Electoral Commission Bill 2024, House of Assembly Elections Bill 2024, and the Registration of Electors Bill 2024. I wish to remind us that the content of this legislation has been reviewed by the relevant individuals and groups since Sir Dennis Byron submitted his report on electoral reform on June 12, 2023. The government of Dominica held a series of consultations with members of the public. And I must say that these consultations have been unprecedented in our political history. We met with members of the public, political parties were invited, trade unions, business associations, and professional organizations, youth-based organizations, sports associations, the media, among other groups, including international observers from the Organization of American States, from the Commonwealth, from CARICOM, and also from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. All of those international and regional organizations were invited to supervise and observe our consultation processes. The public was also given the opportunity to review the report and draft legislation on the Government of Dominica website and submit written feedback. Copies of the bills were also made available to all members of Parliament on 2 separate occasions, so that they too would have the opportunity to go through it, review, and if they had any questions, they could pose those questions to the Office of the Attorney General or to the Office of the Prime Minister. In May 2024, the draft legislation, which comes before the House on Monday, was submitted to the Chief Elections Officer and to the Electoral Commission for the review and comments. And this was done, I believe, in May, right? May. They also have submitted to us at the end of June. They asked for some more time, and they eventually submitted it, I believe, in September. And this is how. So they took a very long time. And that was understood because obviously we need to ensure that the Electoral Commission had ample time, and they took all of the time that they needed to review the legislation and to give their considered observations and comments. And even now, with the first reading of the bills, parliamentarians, interest groups, and members of the public will have another opportunity to familiarize themselves with the content of the legislation. The proposed bills are already available online on the government website at dominica.gov.dm/notices. I highlight all of this to make the point that the proposed electoral reform legislation has undergone extensive consultations and reviews with all relevant groups in our society. I have consistently stated our commitment to presenting these legislative measures to Parliament to ensure that our elections remain free and fair. In keeping with our commitment on this matter, the electoral reform bills will be taken to the Parliament on Monday for the first reading. What this means is that that changes can be made before the bills are tabled for the second and third readings. And if you go to the hands of our Parliament, since our independence, there are very, very limited occasions when bills are only taken in the first reading. It is usual practice in the Parliament that we go through all of the readings. And the Cabinet took that decision in a deliberate manner because we ascribe the same importance as if it is a constitutional amendment, so that we allow for the first reading. Let some time pass by, let the public see what is before the Parliament and give the comments, including parliamentarians could read it and give the comments and so on. And if we see it is a view that those observations will enhance the legislation, then consideration can be given to them. But what we do not want to have in Dominic is for us to have these bills in consultation for perpetuity. These bills must come to the Parliament to be passed, and so that the Electoral Commission can be given the authority in law by the Parliament to effect electoral reform. Unless you go to Parliament, the Electoral Commission cannot do anything where electoral reform is concerned. And in this business, you will never always get all what you want. There are things in these bills that I do not support. But in the process of understanding that we have to build consensus, I decided and the Cabinet decided that we will agree to certain things that other entities agree to or wanted. So there are things in this bill that I do not support from an ideological, philosophical, practical, and pragmatic standpoint. But it's not about me. It's not about the Cabinet. It's about the nation. And obviously in this business, you have to give and take. And it's consensus building. We will not always have all what we want. But at the end of the day, we all must want to go to Parliament, and we all must want Parliament to pass legislation so that the Electoral Commission can have the authority in law to pass legislation. And this is what the government will do, so that we put this electoral reform issue to rest, and we can move on to other equally important matters in the country. So this is where we stand, and I don't know what the fuss about protests on Monday, when people should be looking for the Christmas tree and for the ham and turkey for Christmas and seasoning the turkey and baking it and so on. You're talking about making your strawberry juice and your fruit cake and looking out for the less fortunate. You're talking about protests on Monday for what? For what? Maybe I myself should protest against the cabinet or the parliament because they think I don't agree in it. But that's besides the point. We have to go to Parliament, and we'll go to Parliament. And so there are other matters on the other paper, including an act to establish a pharmacy council to further regulate the pharmaceutical sector, and an act to establish a medical laboratories council to provide for monitoring of operations of medical labs in the country. A resolution for the authorization of a credit facility to fund the completion of the East Coast Road is also on the agenda, as well as amendments to the Money Laundering Prevention Bill 2024, Proceeds of Crime Amendment Bill 2024, and Investment Funds Bill 2024, all designed to strengthen our financial services system. And going back to the resolution for the authorization of a credit facility to fund the completion of the East Coast Road, I mean, when we deliver these projects, I can tell you, I put my hand on my head because of the sheer cost of putting down infrastructure in Normandy. We signed a contract for $127 million for the East Coast Road, and we now have to go to Parliament for about $103 million more for this road, because we recognize that during the trough system in 2022, that there were certain considerations would need to be given to enhance the integrity of the road, to enhance the resilience of the road, and to enhance the safety of the road. And this is a lot of money. I mean, the truth is, one could maybe consider giving everybody along the road $300,000 and relocate them rather than building this road. But we understand the economic impact it's going to have on the Canada territory and at Kingston and Pego, and of course the whole of Castle Bruce, Pidisofre, where it's enhance trade, it's going to enhance agriculture and tourism. And as I said, if you want development, you build roads. And this is what we've been doing, building roads so that to enhance economic opportunity for our citizens. I have so much more to talk about, but I will end here to give you much more time so you could ask me the questions that you wish to ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. With these comprehensive remarks, we could end now. But I know Curtis and Carlyle wouldn't have that. Carlyle likes to take first knock, so Mr. John Baptist.
Thank you very much. Curtis always affords me that opportunity. I will start with a regional question first. Prime Minister, what is CARICOM's position with the situation in Syria, if any, or has CARICOM discussed it and also updates with the Haiti situation? And then I'll come locally. The CBI program continues to be under heavy scrutiny, not only in Dominica, but all over. Are you satisfied that as a government you have done enough to ensure that the Dominica program is well overboard? And two, is it possible that you give figures as it relates to the number of persons registered under the program for 2024 as a cash value?
Thank you very much. In respect to Syria and whether CARICOM has taken a position on this, CARICOM has not. We have not discussed the Syria situation. Obviously, we're all monitoring the situation. I mean, we're hoping that that calm can prevail, peace can prevail, because clearly this world does not need another conflict. But you know how unsettled this part of the world is. You have so many different factions and so many different groups. Our hope and prayer is that those factions and groups can understand the greater responsibility, not only to their welfare and well-being, but to the welfare and well-being of the rest of the world. I mean, we want to see an end to the Russian-Ukraine conflict. We want to see an end to the situation between Israel and Hezbollah and Palestinians. We want to see an end in the conflict in Sudan between the two military forces, so that the world can come back to some kind of normalcy and redirect the resources that have been spent on these wars to more critical matters confronting global citizenship. And so this is this is Dominica's view on this matter, and I'm sure that CARICOM shares the similar sentiments with regards to the situation in Syria. But in Syria, there are bigger powers that will deal with Syria and so on the issues. Yeah. Haiti continues to occupy our attention. You know, we worked with Haiti and the Haitian people in putting a governance structure in place, recognizing that there was no president and there had been no elections for so many years. That presidential council was put in place. Their views that it's not functioning the way that was originally envisaged. But again, we have to support the Haitian people. This is a sovereign, independent country. We don't want to appear to be interfering. We're simply here as CARICOM to provide the support that they need. There was one prime minister that was replaced, and hoping that they can get back to normalcy. What I believe Haiti needs, and we have said so, and I believe that there must be a clear timeline for elections in Haiti. There must be a goal set. You may not achieve the goal, but there must be a goal set. The Haitian people cannot leave the issue of elections unattended. Okay, so I believe that that they must set a goal to have elections by a particular time, and work towards that. Work with the OAS and other partners, including CARICOM. So I believe that they need to set a time frame for elections. Regards to the CBI, I think we have made a number of important changes and improvements. First of all, as you know, we had this agreement with the United States, the 6 points. We have implemented all of the 6 points with the United States. And also we have this memorandum of understanding among the OECS countries, the CBI program. There was the recommendation for the increase in prices. We have done that. And of course, we're working towards common legislation on a number of points. The issue of sharing of information, we're doing so. And in Dominica's case, what we have done, we have gone a bit further, and we have created an independent due diligence unit. And that due diligence unit is under the auspices, under the direction and control of the director of the FIU. And so it is separate now from the CBI unit. So that due diligence unit deals with the review and evaluation of all of the files which come to Dominica. So they review the reports from the GRCC, and they review the due diligence reports, and they make the assessments, and they make a recommendation whether that application should be approved or disapproved. So that and everybody who is assigned to that unit must be cleared by the RSS. So they have to go for a polygraph test. And all of those persons in that unit have gone through the test. They've been cleared by the RSS and the GRCC, and they have started working diligently on this. All of this is an effort towards the separation of duties, the division of labor, so that you don't have one person having a role to play in all aspects of the process, that everybody will have a specific role to play in this unit and so forth. And this will also enhance our oversight, or enhance our due diligence processes, and it will also enhance our efficiency and effectiveness. And from all reports, is working on very well thus far, and will continue to strengthen these areas. We've also, in March of 2024, we implemented a licensing agreement and code of conduct for authorized agents. because we believe that's important that everybody follows the law and regulations. Everybody has a role to play in this process. Follow the legislation that's been approved by the Parliament. So there are a number of other administrative actions, but these are some of the bigger items that we have implemented. All in efforts towards enhancing the integrity, the transparency, and all of the good governance and practices that are so crucial in this business. I think I've answered your questions. Okay, and then the issue of how many. Obviously, I'll have to research that part of the question. But when we report to Parliament in July of 2024, we would have received, I believe, less than 3,000 applications, approved applications by July. But I do not have, I will not have the figure. I will get a figure from July to now for you. But memory serves me, we received less than 3,000 because we do it in our financial year. So June 30th will be less than 3,000. Yeah.
Freelance journalist. In October, it was announced that Clare Harbour's largest account would be closing in Dominica, which coincidentally today marks the final day for several employees. Has your government engaged with Clare Harbour's management team to find out what is the next step? Also, as Prime Minister of the country, for several employees who are now, former employees who are now facing unemployment as we enter into the new year, what would be your message for them? Should I continue?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, we intend to meet with all of the people who would have been temporarily terminated at Clare Harbour, and we'll have this engagement immediately after Christmas to see how we can work with them to assist them during the gap of their re-engagement. Now, as you know, Clare Harbour has a number of clients, and every employee has to be employed distinctively by those clients. So you're not everybody Clare Harbour clients. The different contracts they have, and for them to be able to monitor what's happening, they want the staff to be separate and independent of each other. So while they have lost, and it's an ongoing business, and of course they have lost this client not because of what Clare Harbour is not doing. Clare Harbour has done a fantastic job in providing services to our international clients. They have lost this portfolio because of artificial intelligence, and this is how dangerous artificial intelligence is. And so that client decided they're going to move more into the use of artificial intelligence, and so as a result of that, Clare Harbour lost this portfolio. When I spoke to the vice president, the president of Clare Harbour, they indicated to me that they had already secured a new client for 150 seats. So 150 people will be needed, and there were negotiations with 3 other companies who will be able to provide them with additional seats, so that those persons who lost their jobs from Clare Harbour, based on what Clare Harbour has said to me, that you will see that they'll be started to be re-engaged. So they had to make them redundant because they're working for this particular company. So this is why you will hear people say temporary redundancy, because the plan by Clare Harbour is that those persons will be re-engaged with those new clients coming in. So you already have 150 seats based on what Clare Harbour is saying to me. I'm basically reporting, and there's 3 more companies, and so they believe. What Mr. Edwards said to me, that they believe that with this 1 + 3, 4 clients, they'll be able to reabsorb everybody who would have been made temporarily redundant because of the loss of that particular client. So come January, you'll see people starting to re-engage and so on. But obviously, these are young people. They have their little loans, they have their little facilities, they have children going to school, and we will play our part to see how we can support them during that period of time. So we intend to meet with them and to hear from them as to how they believe that the government can best support them during that period of time.
Okay, so my next question is on the cost. Sorry, It's on the cost of living. Presently, during the 2024-2025 budget address, the Minister of Finance announced the formation of a public-private sector committee tasked with reviewing the prices of goods and service in Dominica, examining the economic and social issues, and making recommendations to foster a more investment-friendly environment. So I would like to find out, Prime Minister, it was announced, that this committee would also review the minimum wage here in Dominica. So where are we as it pertains to the formation of this committee? And as we move into the new year, we hear from a lot of Dominicans that the cost of living is getting too high. So what can we expect to bring some sort of economic relief for us?
Well, if you don't mind, I'll answer the second part of your question first, on the issue of cost of living. One will appreciate that this is a global phenomenon. Every single country in the world is experiencing an increase in cost of living. Every single country, from the G7 countries to the poorest country in the world. You have seen governments have, even if you look at the election campaign in the United States, Ms. Harris indicated that she was going to move to the issue of price control. Now, price control is an important hit to have in an open economy. Once you have an open economy, it's difficult to have price control on every single item. So it's very difficult to do this. And she had to retract this. The government of the United Kingdom, when this current government came in, they were looking at the issue of price control. They had to backtrack on this because it's not going to work. So this is a global phenomenon. You have an issue, and of course, coming from COVID, with the supply chain situation being affected, plus you have the Russia-Ukraine situation and the situation in the Middle East. All of this add to the uncertainty in the world. All of this add to increase in the cost of goods and accessing those goods and so on. So it's a global challenge. We can only hope and pray that we can see a cessation of these conflicts so that the world can focus on more important things, such as the cost of living, and to see how we can have more production and how we can reduce the cost of producing goods and services. Then you have the issue of climate change. I've said so many times that the advent of climate change has caused insurance to go up dramatically. And with insecurities in the world, where ships are passing certain parts of the world, and you have to increase your insurance because of a threat of a pirate taking over the ship. All of these things add to the cost of living, the cost of goods on the shelves. So there is really a compounding of challenges that is pressing the cost of living button. And it's a challenge, and what we have to do, luckily for us, we have more of our own production where food is concerned. But it's a challenge. You go to the United States and you see how dramatically, you've seen an increase in poverty rates, in America because of that. So everywhere in the world is challenging this, and providing subsidies is not going to address it, because every treasury has a limit in how much it can give at any period of time, and so even if you do that, this will be a one-time situation. It can't be a recurrent situation, because you can't afford it, because the government itself is affected by the cost of living, because the government has to provide goods and services to all of the government services. So if food increase, the bill for the prison increases, the bill for the hospital increases, and you cannot tell a patient, well, you can't have breakfast today because you can't afford to buy breakfast to them. You must be able to provide this, and so it's a huge challenge. And this is why you realize that sometimes you hear people say, well, the government is owing this person or that person, and these are some of the challenges that we have. So we have to make a determination: do we pay this, or do we pay this person? We have to decide which is the priority at the point in time. And so it's a huge challenge. It's a huge challenge. We had a discussion in CARICOM on this, trying to see what each other is doing to help cushion the impact and so forth. And the reality is that not much you can do to this. There is a sense, and I'm speaking not only here in Dominica, but globally, that merchants and suppliers of goods and services, some of them are taking advantage of the situation. Where we believe is a view, general health view, everywhere in the world, that the price is a little bit higher than they should be on the shelves. But I'm not going to engage myself in that technical discussion. No, but there's a sense. So I think for us as individuals, we have to shop around, see who has the best prices. We have to prioritize, and this is how we have to go about fighting the cost of living challenge. But it's a huge challenge for governments and for all individuals and so on. The respect to the public-private sector grouping, it was established. There was a first meeting, which I attended along with the Minister for Finance and other ministers and the Minister for Labor and other senior public officers were there. The representatives from the private sector. We were extended to the trade unions and other civic groups, so that there's broader engagement on the issues confronting the country, and that grouping can provide advice to the cabinet on how do we go about together, working together towards addressing issues. So there was a first meeting. The specific terms of references are being worked on, because the government did not want to come and say, well, here are the terms of references. We wanted there to be a participatory approach on this. So different groups were supposed to submit what they believe, how they believe that grouping should be operated, and so we can put together our collective views and ideas and to take it forward and so forth. So work is in progress, and certainly in the new year you will see a ramping up of the engagement, because you're right, the issue of the minimum wage is something that the government would like to place high on the agenda of this entity, to examine the cost of living issue, to examine the minimum wage issue, and to provide advice on whether we believe that to help some families cushion the impact of the cost of living, whether there's not a case to be made for the increase in the minimum wage in Dominica, notwithstanding the fact that the minimum wage was increased in Dominica about 2 or 3 years ago. Thank you.
Yeah, Prime Minister, good afternoon. Curtis Matthew from DBS Radio. An announcement was made recently that Benoit Badwell, who has served as CEO of DASPA for many years, Benoit Badwell would become an ambassador for Dominica. Is that already in place? And talking about Benoit Badwell, another announcement was made sometime in August of this year that stevedores and longshoremen of the Dominica Air and Seaport Authority, who were involved in an impasse for well over 24 years, that compensation would be made available to these stevedores and longshoremen. I've checked with the union to find out whether, in fact, monies have been disbursed to the union for these employees. I was told no. Can you bring us up to date? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, as I announced, Mr. Badwell would have been engaged as would be appointed as ambassador, and also be engaged as an advisor to the Prime Minister and the government on a number of issues. I will meet with Mr. Badwell on Monday, so that we can welcome him to the office of the Prime Minister. So that's in trade. His engagement will have started. He was out for a few days. He's back, and so he's fine. You're correct. I believe the agreement was $4 million, and we came to a conclusion between the DASPA and the longshoremen, stablemen, on a settlement, well, not a settlement, but an agreement on $4 million that would bring an end to this long outstanding impasse between the two entities. Now, as you know, I use my good offices to negotiate a settlement between the two, recognizing that this is a legal issue, and I don't want to appear to be interfering, but with the concurrence of both entities, I was allowed to negotiate, and we came to a conclusion of $4 million. DASPA was authorized to borrow those funds from the National Bank. The National Bank approved the loan of $4 million for DASPA because we wanted to give this development one check, recognizing that there's many senior citizens, many senior men who are retired and waiting for this. So instead of paying them in tranches, as was initially agreed, said to give them one check. So that money is available. Unfortunately, we had to utilize the funds temporarily, not utilize the money, but you utilize the commitment of $4 million. We go to Parliament on Monday, and one of the resolutions will free up that monies from diaspora. So, all things considered, by Wednesday morning next week, the Steve Element should have a check from diaspora. Once Parliament approves of this resolution before the House, then the check will be made available to them. But the money is there. It's in National Bank. It has not been used. It's not that we have an instrument against it, but it has not been used. So the money is in the bank, and by Wednesday, God's willing, they should be able to get that check given to them, so they can start giving out checks just in time for Christmas. Okay.
I'm back again, PM. You spoke about electoral reform, and that becomes a vexing issue. Yes, we're going to Parliament on Monday for the first reading, but the opposition claims that you have, quote and unquote, hijacked the system and not giving the population proper electoral reform. How do you answer to that? The other question is that the issues of the chief elections officer, the Electoral Commission wrote to Cabinet seeking an extension of the hold of the post for 2 years to further assist them with the electoral reform process, and that was not accepted. We want to know why, and who is the new person acting, or who is the new acting chief elections officer, and was the individual properly vetted for that position?
So heavy questions there. Yeah? End of you. All right, I'll take the second question first. The chief election officer is a creature of the Constitution, and that position is insulated from the executive. And if you're to make any changes to that position, you must go to Parliament to amend the law to treat with the chief election officer. So, a couple of things. If there's a salary increase for the public servants, it is not automatic that the chief election officer gets it. You'll have to get Parliament to approve an increase in salary, separate and distinct from the rest of the public service. Now, the law makes provision for the retirement age to be 55. Though there has been movement in the rest of the public service on increasing the retirement age, the law has not been changed for chief election officer. So the chief election officer, the person who was appointed in a position, he achieved the age of 55. But he was chosen to retire at 60, so he has to now find a new position. It's not an abnormal thing that I've done for many other people in the past. So I don't want anybody to think that the first time that happened. No, it happened to Miss Williams, and it happened to Mr. Larrock, happened to some other person in my time. So we had no objection in increasing the age of retirement to 60. As a matter of fact, we will make a change to 60. But at the time he was getting to 23, first of all, I believe the commission took too long to write to me formally on this. We were not going to Parliament. And even if we had no objection to it, we could not have kept him there because we would be in violation of the law. So when September 24th came, he had to be placed in a position of lateral position within the public service. And I believe that he is now at the position of SAO in one of the ministries and so forth. So this is the situation in regards to his position. What the commission has discussed with me, and subsequently they wrote, is that whether we could use the knowledge of the gentleman who held the post of chief electoral officer to assist them in implementing the electoral reform. In principle, we have no objection to this. What I have asked the Secretary of Cabinet to do is to write to the Commission to ask them to submit to us terms of references for his engagement, because we have to be careful that we do not have a chief election officer, which is a constitutional position, and you're sending someone to help coordinate, and that person might be taking out functions and duties of the chief election officer. So we have to ensure that there are clear delineations of responsibilities and it does not impede on the role of chief election officer. So once we receive that from the chief election officer, from the electoral commission, then I believe the cabinet will be minded to approve for a special assignment as coordinator of electoral reform project, so that the commission can have access to the knowledge and the skill of the former chief election officer. So this is where we are with regards to that situation. Then the issue of who is the current chief election officer, that person is Miss Anthea Joseph, who has a long history in the public service, and all of the processes articulated by the Constitution were satisfied, and that person has been duly placed in a position of chief election officer. Some people tell me I answer a question too long, so I'm trying to see whether I can shorten it. But I explain to some people, sometimes the question requires some explanation because there's so much misinformation in the public. So I try to see, where do I position myself? So I hope I'm doing better today. The issue of the hijacking of the electoral process, as claimed by the opposition. Well, I can say, and what we're saying, they do not want electoral reform. They do not want it. Because electoral crying foul at an election for a party that has been in government for so long is an easy thing to do. So they would like to have that. They do not want it. They do not want it. Because they have not been able to tell the country, look, I have read the bills. I do not agree with Section 1A, but I do not agree with Clause 2B. And I would suggest that we change Clause 2B to this. This is how you engage in discussion. But to say that, oh, no electoral reform, we can't go to parliament, it's laws, we're going to stop it, and no, you do not want it. And as the Attorney General quite rightly articulated on the news today, this is the only government in the history of Dominic, since the attainment of political independence, who has done anything in regards to electoral reform. And had we been allowed to proceed with electoral reform, who would have had these laws on the books since 2016? Because the reality is, when you read what Dennis suggested, and when you read what we were taking to Parliament, they're not dramatically different, you know. They're not dramatically different. So all we say, look, we're going to go to Parliament for the first reading of this thing. If you have some concerns or views and so on, look at, even when I believe the Bar Association wrote, to the kind of letter, but the letter nonetheless, I sent it to the Attorney General. And I said, Agent, go for it. See whether they have some things in there that can be of use. When the commission wrote to us, drawing attention to their observations, the AG wrote back to them asking for further clarification. So we are engaging in a discussion. And so we cannot continue to have consultations in perpetuity, forever. It must come to an end at some point. No law is perfect. That's why you go to Parliament every so often to amend laws. As a matter of fact, I believe the next big project the government should take on, the country should take on, is constitutional reform. Because there are a number of things that the draft of the Constitution did not envisage at the time, but times have changed. And therefore, we have now to bring our Constitution to a state of modernity, of greater relevance. And there are a number of things that we have picked up in the Constitution, functional things, that we would need to amend. And I'm saying that we need to start with this, with Dr. Liverpool report and the Telford Judges report. Let's start, because we don't have to go and rewrite all this stuff. Because what Telford Judges, Mr. Telford Judges wrote back then, and Dr. Liverpool, were exceptional documents. But events never allowed us to go for it. And I say that this is the next project that the country should take on. So the issue of or the idea of hijacking. No, the government believes that we should go to the parliament and give the Electoral Commission enough time to implement this. What the opposition will want to have is for there to be an election with no electoral reform taking place, and they will cry for. That's what they want. They do not want it. And they're doing their supporters, and they're doing this country a disservice. And those who know better, who are aiding and abetting them with all kinds of names that they give the organization, they know that they're being disingenuous with regards to their expressions and so forth. So I can say to the country that no protest, none, is going to prevent the parliament from debating these bills and for parliament to proceed with these bills and to give the Electoral Commission the authority to go in it. None. It's not going to happen. If you have suggestions, we are still open to suggestions, but they have to be sensible suggestions. Not all suggestions we'll take on board. I indicated in my opening remarks that there are things that I do not agree with. But that is not for me, because I have to look at the greater good. And so we've agreed in the cabinet to even when we were looking at it a couple weeks ago, there are colleagues who felt particular ways on certain sections of the bills. But we were prepared to set aside our views to allow the process to go forward. Because we recognize that when you pass in legislation, when you make a decision like this, with a consensus document, you go with it. And they have the opposition members, they can give them notes, they can write notes for them, they can express themselves in the parliament. When you go to committee stage, we can look at the suggestions as you normally do. As you get to committee stage, you can change any aspects of the law when you get to committee stage and so forth. And if the guy beats Thompson on Sunday, then he will have opportunity now to say he's representing UWP. Well, half of the UWP, I don't know.
Mr. Prime Minister, while I respect your views, but I'm just coming from a talk show speaking to a lot of the people out there. I can tell you based on what I'm hearing, sir, there's a lot of mobilization. People are upset. They're saying that you're not presenting bills in favor of the people of Dominica. And they will stand. So I'm saying, Mr. Prime Minister, are you satisfied that the bills you're bringing before Parliament at this time represent the views of the people of Dominica, and the bills are representing, as it relates to giving people bills that are equal, that present a level playing field?
Sure. Yeah. No, man, if I were to say you just keep on hosting a talk show, what are the specific points which the people who you spoke to in this talk show, the two people who spoke to in the talk show,
Two people, sir?
two of them you were there, yeah. Two, I think, Loftus Duran and
No, I'm talking about the general people.
Yeah, but who else? I mean,
many people, sir.
What are the points they raised, or specific points, and which bills and then they raised the issue with? Because there are 3 bills before the parliament.
Let me at least point two.
Yeah, point out.
Point to two. In terms of registration of voters and persons flying in from overseas to vote in Dominica, these are 2 of the main issues that they represented.
Well, the issue.
And they're basically saying you want these bills to protect your legacy.
Protect what legacy?
To remain in power.
My only legacy is legacy of service to people. That's what I'm legacy of service. People who know me, I'm not a celebratory person and so on. So I don't pay attention to legacy. The issue of registration. Now, you have a process of confirmation, and you'll have a period within which you can avail yourself to be confirmed. After that period is over, then that is the list that one will use once you give yourself an opportunity to be confirmed. Now, persons who are living overseas, for them to remain on the voters list, they'll have to fly to Dominica to be confirmed. Because you remember, originally, we were going the route of St. Kitts and Nevis, where they went to major capitals around the world where Kittitians and Nevisians were resident, and avail the opportunity to give them the opportunity to have themselves confirmed. The opposition in Dominica was opposed to that, though the government was in favor of going the St. Kitts route. In an effort towards giving and taking, we decided, okay, we will scrap the notion of the Electoral Commission going to capitals where Dominicans, large constitutional Dominicans are. And if they want to remain on the voters list, they have to come to Dominica. So we have done that. So now people want to make an argument about registration and so on. You also have to look at the issue of the constitutionality of what people are recommending. I'm not going to go into the technical details today, because that's not for today. And so the idea of flying people to vote there in Dominica, I don't see where that has to do with any of the bills before the parliament. None. And elections are not won by legislation. Elections are won by how you treat people and how you relate to people. And that is the difference between the Labour Party and all political parties who want to vie for governance in Dominica. That's it. And so you can have all the laws in the world. If you're lazy and you're interested in people, and anytime you raise the money is for yourself, and you can't account for it, and so forth, and a strong supporter of yours die, you don't go to the funeral, and somebody's at the hospital and you don't go visit them, and you're not buying one ham or turkey for anybody for Christmas to have a nice little ham for Christmas. You're not buying an exercise book for a child, farmer for a pencil. I mean, that's what makes a difference in the lives of people. Caring for people, that's the difference. And they don't have that. So trying to get that for a legislation, not going to work. And so, Matt, we have, the Labour Party has 19 seats in the parliament. We all represent a constituency. So where's the majority we're talking about? Majority view we're talking about? We all represent constituents. We all engage constituents on their views. And I can tell you that when I go across Dominica, there are many Labour Party supporters who are upset with me because I have given up on some of the things that they believe I should not have given up on as part of the process. When I consult Laborites across Dominica, that's one of the things they raise at me. Prime Minister, I hear you, but you're soft. They accuse me of being soft. I mean, this is what's happening. So I'm not sure what is about the majority view. Loftus doesn't represent anybody. Mr. Linton doesn't represent anybody. So which majority view? Two people here in talk show, man. And the 5 callers or 6 callers you get within the hour are 5 repeat callers.
So you're one of the listeners. Thank you.
I mean, I have a duty and obligation as Prime Minister to listen to all sides. You know what I'm saying? Though I do agree with half of what you say or you do. Though you do deliberating and malicious. You're not malicious guy, no much, but you're a little bit. you do what you have to do.
So, Prime Minister, 2 questions. One on Domlake and Dawasco, which has been an issue of contention for the year for many citizens, and the other on housing. I know following the announcement by the water increase by Dawasco earlier this year, during a press conference with the media, you stated that your government would conduct an in-depth evaluation of the rates, and if a need arises after that evaluation, you would see whether there was a need to verify that increase or go forward with that increase. This month's marked the 6 months process. So has your government conducted this evaluation, and are you continuing to go through next year with this price increase? I know government released or purchased the generator for Domlake, and we see that load shedding has returned, and of course we see the comments on social media. A lot of citizens are concerned about that. As the majority shareholder, can you provide us an update with what you're hearing from Domlake? Because because I will admit from the media standpoint, well, where I sit, we're not hearing an update from Dominic. So can you provide us with an update? In regards to housing, government has provided numerous housing throughout the years. Prime Minister, what about ownership for the housing? This has been an issue that has been discussed. I know you also stated the plans to construct housing in the Warner area for young professionals as well as the private public sector. Can you provide us an update with this housing in the Warner area as well?
Okay. Now, with regards to the rates at Duasco, I think the government agrees with the public view that the method used should be reviewed, and we should go the route of our consumption rate rather than based on your company size, your return. And we agree that this is a more equitable route to go. So in the new year, there'll be a review, a new rate implemented that will be consumption-based rather than based on the size of your business. Because as I understand it, your company might be large, but you only have one small sink at your business. So people are raising issues about that. So I don't think people are opposed, based on what they've said to me, and based on what I'm hearing, that you're opposed to a rate increase, because the reality is people are paying much less for water than it is costing Duasco to bring water to your homes and to your businesses. So the government is highly subsidizing Duasco. I can recall in 1 year, I gave Duasco $99 million to improve water system across Dominica. Now, those monies are not being passed into the consumer. You understand? But recognize the concern of the public, and we're in agreement with their views in that. So I believe in New Year you will see. I'm sure in New Year you will see we go into the route of consumption. Now the reason why we ended up originally we were going the route of consumption, but all in effort towards how can we minimize the impact on the consumer. This is how we ended up with that kind of rate, hoping that it would have a lesser impact on the consumers. But we appreciate the point made by consumers that it is not an equitable consideration. And so let us go the route of consumption. You pay based on what you consume. And I think everybody will be okay with that. So we'll go that route in the new year. Housing, the issue of housing ownership, as you know, the going through the process of registering, of surveying and registering all of those homes that we're given is a huge task. And with limited surveyors in the government system, you always have a challenge, because you give somebody a home, then you have to ensure that all of these lots are surveyed. So even in the apartments, you have to survey the lot, because you're going through the strata titles, and there are a lot of considerations there. I'm looking at, and some matter I'll be discussing with the Attorney General for the Union, that we may have to go to Parliament, in my view, with a special piece of legislation that will help address the issue of registering homes that the government has granted to people, especially persons who we have had to relocate on humanitarian and safety grounds, so that we truncate the process. And we also eliminate the cost of the process. And so that's something, we'll be looking at. And to go with a special piece of, I believe that we need to have a special piece of legislation to deal with that. Otherwise, it's going to take a long time. I mean, if you and I buy land, something takes us 2-3 years, something to get a title. I mean, there's been marked improvements, I must say, at the registry. But you have challenges sometimes, and it can take you a longer time. Just imagine you're dealing with thousands of homes that we are granted. But the reality is there's nobody in Dominica who will have the authority to take those homes from these people. So I know the opposition elements are trying to create this thing in people's mind, or title and so on. But it's the same opposition that told people or said the government wasted money building house of people. But in order to create a political issue, I heard they raising on my program too. They're raising that issue of no titles or no titles. So I heard all the time trying to create that in people's mind. But I'm telling the person that you deal with. Once you got a letter from us, there's nobody who can take that thing. Nobody, not even me. Nobody, and in the future too. Okay, you were completely insulated from any political consideration. You show Dominic now. Now Dominic is a private company. And so it's Dominic who should be talking to the people, not me. I'm not an employee of Dominic. Dominic has a PRO, Dominic has managers, Dominic has general managers. I'm just a little prime minister. So Dominic should be talking to the people. They have a duty and obligation to speak to the people. They can't have people assuming things. And it shouldn't be left to me to keep addressing Dominic's issue. Dominic has his issue. I intervened to help because it became a national issue. I mobilized resources. I brought in Venezuelans there. To look at the hydro plant, look at the diesel plant. They gave them a comprehensive report on the hydro plant. The president of Venezuela even offered to have these persons here in Dominica for a period of time. We went ahead and we advanced the purchase of the generators for the international airports, and we gave that to Dominic, brand new generators, 4.8 megawatt plant, and these people dragging their feet on this thing. I mean, what, they're dragging their feet on this thing. If we had this 4.8 generator up, we'll not be having load shedding. So understand how I can get upset sometimes when these things happen. And then who do they blame? Me. And then nobody in Dominic is speaking to the public. They blame me. After I have done all what I shouldn't have done. Because it's a private company. They want to cut government lights. Government owing that. So why when you have problems you pass into the Prime Minister? You're a private company. You're registered you're registered on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market. You're registered under the Companies Act of Dominica. You're not a state-owned company. The government has shares, majority shares, and luckily we have majority shares because the situation would be worse. Could have been worse. But it is not for me to be addressing the public on a private company matter. When you have staff, and when I speak, so many people take offense to what I say, but they don't appreciate that I'm being unfairly criticized and held responsible for things I have no control over, I have no responsibility for. But when people have their small businesses, and people have their hotels, and people have their little shops, and they have their stuff, their drinks, and their chicken, and their fish, in their little fridge or ice cream, and you just take lights from them, and you're telling them when you're going to bring it back. First of all, you're telling them when you're taking it, farmer telling them when you're going to bring it back. Understand the consternation of the people. Understand why the people are upset. And I just feel that in this country that people have to be held accountable. You can't only hold the Prime Minister accountable in this country. And there's a problem. Everybody wants to hide being a Prime Minister. We can't hide everybody being a Prime Minister. We have to call people out. Call them out and let them be held responsible. Unless we do that in Dominica, we will not get where we really should be getting. Because once you hold somebody else's responsibility, then that person will never do his work diligently. Because it's not me, blame Skerrit. It's not right. And we have to be more respectful in this country, people. The citizens of Dominica have to be respected. Irrespective of your station in life. And these things, from an ideological, philosophical standpoint, I do not like these things. We bought it for you. You haven't even paid us for it. We don't even pay us for it. I gave you a generator, 1 megawatt from the stadium. Dominica hasn't given us $1 for it yet. What else you may do? Their salaries are 3 times mine. So I must do my work and still do yours. And you're sitting there. And then people are going to say, well, Skerrit criticizes, Skerrit criticizes that. But where are you guys when will holding me responsible for things that are my responsibility? And in that case, this matter. Then I must speak the truth to the people. I have to say, I have to start calling out people. Once I start doing that, then I will be held responsible for everything that goes wrong in the country. When I would have done all what I am supposed to do. And people are sitting down and they read in the comments and they won't say, well, it's not Skerrit, it's us. They say, it's true, yes. Get to him. You have to laugh because, you have to smile, sometimes you can get, but we have to do better. We have to be more respectful. We have to be more responsive. We have to be more accountable, more transparent. So I hope I answer your question, my dear journalist. Thank you.
Shirma Lafloo, Dominican News Online. There has been an increase in crime and gun violence here in Dominica. What plans does your government has for tackling the situation?
Well, one gun crime or one crime commission through the use of a gun is one too many. I don't think that the situation is dramatic, has been inferred, but it concerns all of us. As you know, the genesis of all of these guns in the Caribbean is from the United States. And we have been actively engaging the United States government to see how we can limit, if not eliminate, the flow of small arms into the Caribbean region. You will see across the Caribbean, there are a number of crimes and homicides and murders commissioned through the use of guns. So it's an issue that we continue to identify. But you will also accept from Dominican News Online that crime is a societal challenge. And therefore, it requires the society to be engaged in solving this issue. We will do all what we have to do to provide the police with the resources that they need, and we continue to do so. And all fairness to the police, they've been doing a pretty good job in maintaining the low rates of crime and also able to solve those murders. And this brings people before the court. So the police have a very good rate of that in Dominica. But it's a matter that continues to occupy us. And even if we are not at the rate of our neighbors, we're not taking that for granted. We want to ensure that all of what we need to do to eliminate the presence of illegal weapons and firearms in Dominica. And it's gonna take the entire society to play its part in this and so forth. But it is an issue that we are preoccupied with. And we have invested heavily at the customs with scanners, and we have been pretty successful in detecting the entry of guns at the customs and ports. We are pushing on that, and we're working with the U.S. government. The French have been very helpful as well in providing us with some resources to continue to combat illegal activities in Dominica. That's good.
Yes. My final two questions. Yeah. One of the questions has to do with your National Security Minister, Mr. Blackmore, is here around now. Mr. Blackmore made a statement recently indicating that he was not in favor, or he was opposed to the granting of bail for the double murder accused Jonathan Lehrer. Of course, that has caused a lot of debate out there. Is that also the position of the government? That's the first question. The second one has to do with lighting at the Windsor Park Stadium, Prime Minister. Are we closer now to at least finalizing an arrangement for lighting for the stadium? And the final one has to do with CARICOM and the new US government, Donald Trump. What will CARICOM be looking for in a Trump administration in 2025? Thank you very much.
Yeah. Now, regards to the comments by Honorable Blackmore, the Minister for National Security and Justice in the Philippines. The minister was basically highlighting the position of the prosecutors. The state prosecutors opposed bail before the High Court. And I really don't see, all fairness to Mr. Blackmore, I really don't see why there was a need for the Bar Association or this regional grouping to issue a statement. I mean, anybody in the society has the right to express any view or concern regards to the operations of any court. As always, you have to do so respectfully and within reason. But I didn't see what is the big hoopla. Now, here it is, that the people in the society who were saying that the government was in collusion with the accused and that the government is going to interfere in the court proceedings to allow these accused murderers to get out. I didn't hear anybody say that the government could not interfere in the court business. I didn't hear the Bar Association say that this couldn't happen. This cannot happen. But the minister expressing a particular view saying that he is opposed and the government is opposed because the government is the executive, the state is represented by the director of prosecution and a special prosecutor who was brought in to prosecute that case on behalf of the state. So it wasn't a situation where Mr. Black was expressing a view divergent to what the prosecutors were saying. And if this is a matter that has occupied the minds of the general public, and the public has a particular interest in this, because of the extenuating circumstances of this case, because of all of the negative PR that we receive externally and locally from this matter, I don't see why we should be raising alarm by the contents of Mr. Blackmore's statement. And I have read the statement, and I don't think that it's there. If I were to say something, my only thing is that I don't think the minister should be responding to different groups who say something. That's the only departure. You make a statement, and if you finish that, I will not respond to the Bar Association. I will not respond to this regional grouping or anybody else. A statement was made, and that's it. So that's all my only departure there. But I don't. The substantive statement, I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't think Mr. Blackmore input any motive, or he was disrespectful to anyone. He was very respectful in the statement, and so forth. I just don't agree back and forth. But what I think he's within his right as a minister who is charged with ensuring that the security of the state is maintained. You understand? Because if this man gets bail and he escapes, and he goes to America, what are you gonna say? What are you gonna say? You understand? So we are opposed to this. So we are opposed to bail. Lights for the stadium, I think we're closer. I think in the new year we should be in a position to sign off. The funds have been identified, and it's just a matter of going through the final negotiations with the supplier, and the contract will be signed in the new year, God's willing, and so on. So we're gonna push for that. Okay. CARICOM and how does CARICOM view the new U.S. president? We worked with Mr. Trump for 4 years. We didn't have difficulty with Mr. Trump. Obviously, there are some foreign policy positions that we don't agree with. But Mr. Trump is the elected president of the United States. We respect that. It is the right of the American people to vote whoever they wish for president. In terms of Dominica, there were no adverse issues between ourselves and Mr. Trump's administration. I do not see there being any adverse conditions for our engagement. So we will work with Mr. Trump as we worked with him in his first term, and as we've worked with so many other presidents. I've been around since Bush, and I've seen many of them, and we look forward to working with Trump. The only thing is that we like him to take a different position on Cuba and also on Venezuela. That we believe that these two nations have suffered too much by way of sanctions, and that it's important that we bring these two nations into the center. That these two nations have a lot that they can contribute to the peace and the security of the region, and to have them out is not good for any one of us. Venezuela has tremendous fossil fuel potential, as you saw with Petrocaribbean, or it was so helpful to all of CARICOM nations. I mean, that was one of the largest source of non-tax revenue for Haiti. Haiti raised billions of dollars through the Petrocaribbean agreement, and I was able to help Haiti address the issue of housing, infrastructure, access to school, access to education, access to healthcare. And we're hoping that countries like Venezuela can be allowed to come back and trade with the rest of the world. And whatever issues that we consider we have, then there are ways we can negotiate these things from a diplomatic standpoint. And as we've done in the past, Dominica, we are open to assist the United States government in engaging on those discussions and to see how we can come to a respectful view on this. But outside of those two issues, I mean, there are no real. We're not far apart.
They asked me to. I started it, so they say I'll end it. And it's the spirit of Christmas, goodwill. And you seem to pride yourself as a very good negotiator. We have not had a leader of the opposition. Take your time. I see you looking here. We have not had a leader of the opposition for a long time, a little while. Do you see yourself using your good offices in attempting to break that impasse and get us a leader of the opposition, especially in the spirit of Christmas?
Well, I mean, I mean, the reality is, I mean, it's not for me to negotiate for that. You know, it's not for me to negotiate that. I mean, it's more for them. But what is interesting to Carla, if what you're going to tell me, you know, something else, that the member for parliament for Marigot, Honorable Charles, was not allowed to serve the agreed portion of the term as leader of the opposition for the simple reason the other side stated that the agreement was that none of them would be part of any political party. But here it is, a senator who signed a letter to the president to have the member for Salisbury as leader of opposition has declared himself to be aligned with the political party. Now, if this guy has integrity, which I don't think he does, because he would have resigned already. You did not support somebody who appointed you as a senator, who advised the president to appoint you as senator, to be leader of opposition, because you claimed that the agreement you had among yourselves, all of you senators and 2 elected members, that you would not join any political party. But you have not only joined a political party, but you're vying for his leadership. To me, I believe that your letter of resignation to the president should have preceded that announcement. Because you are doing the same thing, or even worse, than what you accused the member for Marigot of doing. But this is the Workers' Party. They have a structural and systemic problem. So no matter who is at the head, the body will still have the cancer. But what I thought you were going to ask me was whether I could use my strength in the Catholic Church, or my involvement in the Catholic Church rather, to negotiate for you to become a deacon. Because seriously, the Catholic Church desperately needs men to to provide guidance because there are very few priests. And so seriously, I have a few in the cabinet. Cassidy is there, Dr. Mark, Roland is there, well, Grant is a Methodist. You know, so we have a few Oscar. So I'm offering this man to Curtis here. Curtis is a prime candidate. So between you, Curtis, look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 millionaires. And myself, 7. But that's all the questions, right? One more question.
Just quickly, Prime Minister, follow up to Carlisle question of goodwill and giving back.
No, please.
And public officers expect something this month for bonus, something at all?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But thank you for your questions. I can't answer this question. But thank you very much for your questions. I appreciate them. And I hope that my responses were satisfactory and address your concern. Let us work together. We may not always agree, but you have a duty and obligation to ask the questions that the public wants you to ask, and we have a similar duty to respond with honesty and fairness and in a transparent manner. So we look forward to working with you. The reality is, I will say to the country that there is absolutely no justification, no rationale, no argument that one can use for any protest in Dominica this time in relation to electoral reform. Anybody who is proposing this is simply seeking to mislead the people and to create unnecessary discord among ourselves at a time when we should be sharing with each other and expressing love and celebrating the birthday of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And anybody who is pushing that, it cannot be a patriot. Anybody who's pushing that is being dishonest. Anybody who's pushing that is lacking integrity. But if you have an argument, you must first say what the argument is and bring your points up. But to say about we have hijacked this or we registration and this and that, no. Go to the law, go to the bills, and draw the public's attention to the specific provisions in the bills so that we can have a sensible, honest, and transparent engagement on this matter. Until such time, it is people seeking to disrupt the country and hoping that one day one of the attempts will hold and then they can bring the government down, because the guy said it on your radio program today that they're not interested in electoral reform, they're interested in taking over. He said he's not interested in electoral reform, they're interested in taking over. Taking over, which means an overthrow, which means a displacement of the government. So that's what it is. So let us be honest in this country. The government is advancing these bills. We've been talking about this thing since 2014. We're in 2024, ushering the new year, 2025. It is absolutely important that the commission be granted the authority by the parliament to go about implementing this stuff. Kicking the can down the road and bringing all kinds of vexatious issues is not being patriotic and is not putting the country first. The people who are pushing that are selfish people with an agenda, and they're using organizations and institutions that they're part of to push this forward. It's not right. It's not right. And that's why it will not stand. And so we're still open, as we said. If you have suggestions, the bills are on government website, is available for everybody to read. You can download it on your phone, so you don't have to print it. You can download it on your computer, you can download it on your television, and you can read it and put comments where you there. And if you have any suggestions, the Attorney General is available, send it to the AG, give it to your member of parliament so that those points can be raised. And if there are merits in the points that are being raised, the parliament will be certainly minded to give consideration to those points. But until such time, I believe that people are being malicious. They're being, and at a time when people, it's very disingenuous. I mean, I try to listen because I have a duty obligation to listen, to see what are the views and to see whether I can get some sense from what people say so that we take note. If there's a point, we'll take it down. As of now, I have not heard any point, any serious point of any concern, genuine concern raised in regards to the bills that are before Parliament. And it's not fair to the country. It's not fair to the young people of Dominic and people who call themselves lawyers, people who call themselves priests and pastors, who have a duty obligation to their membership and to their followers, must speak truth to power. And they must speak the truth. Don't use all kinds of opportunities to see whether you can black eye the government or believe that can usher in a change of government. The only way Dominica will see a change of government is by the ballots. It's not going to be no 1979 or 10th of 1981 of this mischance and so on. That's not happening in Dominica. So those who have that in their minds, I can tell you, think twice. It's not going to happen. 1979 will not happen in Dominica again. And if you think that's going to happen, that's going to make it happen, it's not going to happen again. No. Or attempted coup on mistrust. It's not going to happen. Okay? Let us engage ourselves in sincere, sober, transparent discussions. Send us a note if you have any concern about any specific. Yeah. And I think you, the press, you have a duty and obligation. First, to read the legislation, and secondly, to put specific questions to these people. So Matt, tell us, your guests need to tell us what they have issue with specifically and so on. But the 2 points you raised with me there, those are not points. Okay? But thank you very much. But always happy to see all of you. Thanks for making the time. And we look forward to engaging in the new year. But this being the last doesn't mean that we'll not have occasion to speak one-on-one if you have any questions as you go along and so on. So it's not an end of the year, but this is an end of engagement for the year, but this is a last formal press conference we'll have for the year. But thank you very much. God bless all of us. Thank you.
The Prime Minister has already closed. Let me just add my own note of gratitude to the members of the media. Thank you for your cooperation in the past year. You're always very responsive, and we appreciate that. And I look forward to more regular engagement in the new year. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Good afternoon. Season's greetings.